You know that thing where someone asks you how you're doing and you say, you're good, I'm good, things are good, I'm fine. And it's not a lie exactly. It's just the version of the truth that keeps the room comfortable. And you've been doing a lot of that lately. You've been nodding in the right places. You've been smoothing things over. You've been the one in the room who makes sure nobody has to sit in that awkward silence for too long. And it's working, right? The surface is holding, everybody's fine, but something underneath you has been ticking and you can feel it. You might not have a name for it yet, but the tightness in your smile when you say, I'm fine for the fourth fucking time this week, that has a name and you just haven't said it out loud. April 1st, 2026, we have a full moon in Libra at 12 degrees. And I need you to hear me when I say that this is one of the most important full moons of the year because it's not asking you to find balance. Every astrologer and the mother are going to tell you that. Find your balance, honor both sides, compromise. And sure, that's true too. There's a part of that in this lunation as well. But this full moon is asking something a hell of a lot sharper. It's asking, do you know your own ticking time bomb? Because we all have one. And the people who know their time bomb, their ticking time bomb, are the ones who get to choose how it goes off. So here's what's actually happening in the sky. You've got the sun in Aries opposing the moon in Libra. And now Aries carries the sword, Libra carries the shield. That is the axis, what I want and what the relationship needs me to hold. And the shield serves a purpose, right? Genuine protection is real. Sometimes you need it. But a shield held up against nothing real, maintained out of habit and fear of conflict and rupture and confrontation. Eventually, all of that cracks under its own weight. And that is what this full moon is illuminating. The moon in Libra is sitting in the second decan, right? The decan of Saturn. And in the tarot, that decan belongs to the Three of Swords. Now, I know what you just pictured, the heart with three swords piercing through it. Everybody knows that card, and most people read it as heartbreak, loss, and yes, pain. There's some of that in there as well. But here's the part I've been sitting with since I've started prepping for this video. The Three of Swords isn't the wound. It's what's happening when you finally stop pretending that the wound isn't there. You can feel when the heart starts to harden, when it stops letting things in, because letting things in means risking the heartbreak, the shattering of it all. And so we build these beautiful surfaces, right? We build these agreeable versions of self. The one who's easy to be around, the one who doesn't make any waves, the one who'd rather be loved through a mask than be alone. And that's the Libra shadow at its most precise, lowest octave, right? And I think most of us have lived there at some point in our lives, right? The question this full moon is asking, though, is whether you're still living there and whether you living there is actually honest and truthful. Because here's the thing I keep coming back to. The card, this Three of Swords moment, says that the swords have to come out. The grief has to flow. The tongue of shame in our heads is a lying tongue, and we get to cut that out. The swords have to come out. And the moment you stop swallowing the thing that's been cutting you from the inside, something eventually shifts and the heart gets lighter. That's the part nobody wants to talk about when it comes to this card. When you actually let the truth through, when you stop holding the beautiful surface, the heart gets lighter. That's how the truth works. That's how justice works. That's how paradox works, right? So here's the Saturn conversation as well, because Saturn rules this decan of Libra. And I know Saturn is one of those words that makes people want to click away, but stay with me because Saturn just entered Aries for the first time since the late 90s. And Saturn in Aries is asking a very specific question at a collective level. Where have you been keeping the peace at the cost of keeping yourself? And you know what social conformity is, right? Social conformity. It's not always a big thing, right? It's not always some dramatic act of silencing. Sometimes it's just the quiet agreement to not make the room uncomfortable, to smile when you're really angry, to say it's fine when it's not, to hold that shield up. And here's the thing, the shield of social conformity is literally crumbling and cracking in front of our very eyes. And we can all feel it. It's in the air. People are exhausted from being agreeable. People are exhausted from translating their feelings into something more palatable. And the culture that taught us to do that, the culture of docility, of don't rock the boat, of just be a bigger person, that culture benefits someone, but it's not you. And I want to name who benefits from that story. It's the system that runs more smoothly when you don't say what you actually need. It's the relationship where one person's comfort depends on the other person shrinking. The other becomes a shell of themselves eventually. And that's the extreme version of the Libra shadow under real power imbalance. One person's harmony is another person's prison. And the fire that's been building in the people who've been quiet for probably way too long, well, we can only restrain that fire for so long. And here's what the Sabian symbols do, and it does something wild. So, Sabian symbols. Every degree of the zodiac has a symbol or a phrase or an image. And the Sabian symbol, the phrase for this degree of Aries, of this full moon, is a bomb which has failed to explode is now safely hidden from discovery. Think about that. Something with the force to change everything, and it didn't go off. It got buried, contained, hidden somewhere safe. So the question is, for whom? Safe for whom? The question is, what is it costing us to carry that kind of unexploded potential inside of us? Because that is exactly the energy sitting in us right now, in the people who've just been keeping the peace. The question is never whether it surfaces. It always does. The question is whether you meet it before it meets you. And I gotta be honest with you, because this one hits close for me. I'm a Libra rising, Sun in Aries in the 7th house of relationship, the Libra house. So this full moon is lighting up my personal axis, the part of my chart that deals with exactly this. How I exist in relationship to other people, how I show up in partnership, whether I'm actually in the room or just making beautiful content about being in the room. And that's the thing that's been sitting with me. I make content about connection. I talk about intimacy, astrology, relationships, our relationship to astrology, our relationship to showing up fully. And I love it. I believe in this. But there's a version of this where the content becomes a silo, a bubble, an echo chamber, where I'm thinking about how to explain vulnerability instead of actually being vulnerable with the people in my actual life, where I'm intellectualizing connection instead of doing the face-to-face work of sitting across from another person and letting them matter to me. That's my ticking time bomb. The gap between how I love people in theory and how I actually show up. And boy, oh boy, do we have to show up. On top of all of this, the ruler of my chart, Venus, my natal Venus, is in Pisces in the 6th house, ruler of my chart, sitting in the house of daily practice, which means my path to genuine openness in relationship runs through the ordinary, the mundane, the day-to-day work of opening the heart and quieting the mind. The 6th house version of love. Love as a practice, something you build through repetition, through showing up again when you'd rather stay in your own head, in your own world. And look, I like the idea of empathy and compassion. I would say most of the time I'm in that pocket. But when values aren't aligned or the energy isn't right, what does that actually look like? What does it cost? The Aries energy in the 7th house wants connection, but it wants it on their terms. It wants it comfortable. It wants control. So this practice of learning to open myself up to connection without controlling the form it takes is part of my evolutionary path. I tell you the story because I'm not going to ask you to do something I'm not willing to name in myself. I am with you in this. I'm not perfect. And I challenge you to look at where Libra lives in your chart. There's absolutely a house Libra occupies, maybe some planets. What's coming up for you? Do a quick Google search. How can we utilize the astrology to help elevate our awareness? This is the practice. This is how I do it. Now, on the other side of all this energy, on the other side of this axis, of the Libra Aries axis, we have the sun, of course, sitting in the second decan of Aries. And the tarot card that this decan is all about is the Three of Wands. And here's the part that surprised me when I was prepping for this video. The Three of Wands, in the tradition I work with, is about disorientation. Choosing to disorient yourself, walking away from the known world where you exist, unknown, toward a self-responsibility that leads to a world where you're actually recognized. And think about that. The known world where you exist unknown. That's the relationship where you've been showing up in a costume. That's the friendship where you edit yourself before you speak. That's the family dynamic where everybody knows the script and nobody says the real thing. And the Three of Wands says, get out of here, leave. Not because it's easy, but because the disorientation of leaving the familiar cage is the actual path to sovereignty. You form your own code of conduct. You break social conditioning and social conformity. That's all on you. The family's version of this, the religious version, the culture's version of who you should be, fuck that noise. And this is where Aries fire stops being destructive and starts being something else entirely. This is where the bomb doesn't explode. It transforms. The courage to disorient, the courage to say, I don't know where I'm going, but this isn't it, baby. This is the moment where we get to stand at the point where self-concept expands and you become the bridge between everything you've inherited and the person you're actually becoming. That's the full moon invitation. On one side, the swords come out and the heart gets lighter. On the other side, you choose the disorientation that leads to ground you've never stood on. And I know that sounds terrifying, but trust that there's support here because Venus just walked into Taurus 2 days before this full moon. Venus in her own sign, unhurried, rooted, and sensory and loving. She's not asking you to rush into this, right? She's reminding you that your feet already know where to go, even when your mind is still trying to catch up. So here's what I will offer. Just one thing, just this. Stay with me here. There's a version of yourself you've been offering to the world, right? And it's costing you something. You know this version. You know the one, the edited version, the one that smiles at the right time, that holds the thing that would actually change the dynamic if you said it. The full moon is asking you to let those swords out, to let the bubble pop, and to stop holding the shield up against something that isn't actually attacking you. The beautiful surface has been keeping you safe. I get that. But it's also been keeping you alone on the inside. And the version of you that's been hiding in there, we can only restrain our fire for so long. So here's the assignment. And it's simple. It's annoyingly simple. Before April 3rd, before this full moon, before this energy even starts fading away, I challenge you to say the real thing. The one that's been sitting behind that smile. The one you've been translating into something softer every time it tries to come out. Skip the translation and let it land in the room it actually lives inside you. You can use the comment section for workshopping. Drop it down below. We'll workshop it. We'll move through it. And the Libra side of this full moon, I want to also note, has its own Sabian symbol as well. This degree of Libra, the Sabian symbol or phrase is children blowing soap bubbles. Something created from breath and simple materials, luminous, perfect for a moment, and then gone. And children do this with complete absorption and zero grief when the bubble pops. They just blow another one. And that's what genuine Libran beauty looks like. It's temporary, it's light and real, precisely because it doesn't pretend to be permanent. So can you just observe the bubble without being fully immersed in all of them? Can you tell the difference between the ones that are genuinely beautiful and the ones that are keeping you from seeing clearly? Because here's what this full moon is really saying. It's not this or that. It's not Aries or Libra, self or other, fire or peace. It's this and that. That's the Libra archetype at its highest octave. Paradox without collapse. Truth and love in the same hand, baby. Now, I asked you at the top of this video, do you know your own ticking time bomb? And maybe you do. Maybe it's the relationship you've been keeping on life support. Maybe it's the version of yourself you've been offering to the world that cost you something real every single time. Maybe it's the fire you've been sitting on because you were told that fire was too much. Well, the Three of Swords says truth isn't a punishment. And the Three of Wands says the disorientation isn't a failure. And together with this full moon on April Fool's Day of all days is asking one thing. Who are you when the bubble pops? Who do you want to be when that bubble pops? You get to choose. Why are we holding? Why are we giving fucks when there are no fucks to give? We've passed the point of no return. Do you want to be about it? Do you really, really want to be about it? That's what this lunation is all about. That is what will bring us into balance and harmony. Confrontation, baby. Confronting the real things. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here and listening. If you want to go even deeper with this, check us out in the Collective, my private membership community, where we go deeper. We have a companion workshop, guided meditations, journaling prompts, all of it. You name it. Link is in the description. There's a 30-day free trial happening right now. And if you're watching this and something landed for you, please share, comment, like, subscribe, all the things. I just want you to also know that I'm in this with you. Estoy aquí contigo, mi amor. We keep going and we keep elevating. This is the assignment. This is what's available, and you can move through this. So what are you going to do with it? How are you going to move? What are you going to do with all this information? Let us know down below. Love you so much. Bye for now.